That night, during what was supposed to be my birthday party, I received a shock I'll never forget. My celebration quickly turned into a feeling of deep betrayal, where a loving father suddenly became a burden to his own daughter. The music suddenly stopped. Madison's hand slammed down on the speaker, and the sharp silence sliced through the living room like glass shattering. I froze instantly, holding the cake knife over frosting, a fixed, happy smile still on my face. About 20 guests turned to look at her, their conversations abruptly cut off. "Dad, we need to talk." Her voice cut to the previous warmth of the room. "Now, in front of everyone, so there's no misunderstanding." The knife in my hand felt suddenly heavy. I lowered it slowly, a wave of confusion washing over me. My daughter stood stiffly near the kitchen entrance, and Brian was beside her with his arms tightly crossed. Then, something shiny slid across the table. It was a brochure, and its edges caught the candlelight as it bumped against my plate. Sunset Pines Senior Living was written across the front in an elegant script. "We've made arrangements for you," Madison continued. Her words were carefully measured, almost like she had practiced them. "This house doesn't have room for 3 adults anymore. Brian needs a home office. The kids need more space. You've had a good run here, but it's time to move on." My chest tightened, and the room seemed to tilt slightly. The candles swam in my vision. Someone dropped a fork, and the loud clatter felt deafening. "We put a deposit down," Brian added, gesturing at the brochure as if it were a wonderful gift. "It's a nice place, lots of activities. They've got bingo on Thursdays." I tried to speak, but no sound would come out. "You can pack tomorrow morning," Madison said firmly. "We'll help you move your things by noon. The room's ready for you. They're expecting you Monday." A woman named Sarah Johnson quickly stood up, her chair scraping the floor. "Madison, this is your father's birthday. You can't just—" "This is a family matter, Sarah." Brian cut her off, his tone dismissing her as if she were a total stranger. "Family?" Sarah's voice trembled. "James gave up everything for you. His house, his savings." "Our house now," Madison interrupted. She wouldn't look at me. Her eyes were fixed somewhere over my shoulder. "Dad's been living here free for 5 years. We provided him with a roof, food, everything. He should be grateful we found such a nice facility." Free? The word felt like a punch. Guests were now standing up, grabbing their coats, mumbling awkward goodbyes. No one would meet my eyes. Mrs. Patterson briefly touched my shoulder as she walked past, her hand trembling. The Johnsons slipped out without a word. Within minutes, the living room emptied as if a fire alarm had gone off. I stared at the brochure. Smiling elderly faces looked up at me from the glossy pages. People in wheelchairs, people playing cards, people who had run out of options. The address label already had my name printed on it. James Miller, room 7B. "Dad." Madison's voice was different now, impatient. "Did you hear me?" The paper crinkled in my grasp. My birthday cake sat abandoned. 63 candles had melted into crooked stubs, wax pooling on the frosting. Small wisps of smoke rose from the black wicks. "I heard you," I said. My voice was flat and distant. "Good." She turned toward the kitchen, and Brian followed. Their footsteps faded into the next room, where I heard cabinet doors opening. Madison's voice drifted back, casual now. "We should repaint it before he leaves. That beige is depressing." Sarah was still lingering by the door, clutching tissues in her hand. "James, I'm so sorry. I don't know what to say." "It's all right," I told her. "You should go." "But thank you, Sarah." The door closed softly behind her. Her car started in the driveway, its headlights sweeping across the window before vanishing down the street. I stood there, holding the brochure, completely alone in my living room, surrounded by abandoned plates and half-empty glasses. Behind me, Madison's laughter carried from the kitchen, bright and relieved, as if she had just finished an unpleasant chore. She was talking about paint colors for my room, as if I were already gone. The casual sound of their voices filtered through the doorway as Madison and Brian huddled over the kitchen counter, pointing at color samples. I hadn't moved. The brochure was still bent in my fingers, its sharp corners digging into my palms. The front door opened again. It was Sarah's tear-stained face. "James, I can come back tomorrow, help you pack. Or—" "He doesn't need your help." Madison's voice snapped from the kitchen. "This is family business." Sarah looked at me, pleading with her eyes. I managed a small nod. She pressed her lips together, squeezed my hand once, then left. The door clicked shut with an awful finality. Now I was truly alone with them. Why? I finally turned toward the kitchen, my legs unsteady. Why like this? Why tonight? Madison spun around, her expression stiff. "Because you wouldn't have listened otherwise. You have argued, made excuses. This way it's done." "Done." I gripped the doorframe. "You ambushed me at my birthday party." "Oh, please." She slammed the cabinet shut. "You've been living here free for 5 years, eating our food, using our electricity. You're 63, Dad. Most people your age have their own place." Brian appeared behind her with a beer, settling into a chair at the kitchen table as if he owned the entire house. He probably thought he did. "Free?" The word got stuck in my throat. "Madison, I pay the mortgage," I said. "Our mortgage," she corrected me sharply. "At our house. I pay $2,700 a month." My voice rose despite myself. "Every month for 5 years." Madison crossed her arms. "That was your choice, your duty as a father." "My duty?" I stared at her, desperately searching for any sign of the little girl I had raised. "I sold my house, everything your mother and I built. And we let you live here in return," she said, as if she genuinely believed it. "Room and board, Dad. That's worth something." My hand found a counter, gripping it hard to stay upright. The kitchen spun slightly. I'd stood in this exact spot thousands of times, cooking breakfast for the kids, fixing broken cabinets, replacing the garbage disposal when it broke. "I bought that garbage disposal," I said, almost to myself, "and the new water heater and the fence after the storm. Minor maintenance." Brian took a long drink of beer. "Besides, I need an office. Been waiting long enough. Your room's perfect. Good light, quiet. Already measured it." The casual cruelty of his words hit me harder than Madison's. He had been planning this, measuring my room while I was sleeping in it. I moved deeper into the kitchen, reaching for water. My hands fumbled with the glass, shaking too much to hold it steady under the faucet. Water splashed over the rim. "You don't understand," I whispered. I set the glass down before I could drop it. "When I sold my house, mine and your mother's house, I got $180,000. I explained. That was our down payment for this house. In my name because my credit was bad." Madison shot back. "From the divorce, from Mark's bankruptcy. You knew I couldn't qualify. I knew you needed help." My voice finally cracked. "You were crying, Madison. You told me that I had said I would lose the kids if I couldn't provide a stable home. You said what I needed to say." She shot back, her face flushing bright red. "And you did what fathers are supposed to do. You helped. That doesn't give you the right to live here forever like some kind of tenant." "Tenants?" I literally couldn't catch my breath. "I've paid over $160,000 in mortgage alone," I argued, "plus electric, $300 a month, water, $200, internet, groceries, everything." Brian just snorted. "You ate the groceries, too. Old man. Can't claim that as a gift." "I bought the groceries." My hand slammed onto the counter, startling both of us. Every week, every single week, I drive to Costco. I fill the cart. I pay at the checkout. "When have either of you bought groceries?" A heavy silence stretched between us. Madison's jaw was clenched, but she said nothing. "The electric bill," I continued, my voice trembling. $18,000 over 5 years. Water, $12,000. Internet, $9,000. Groceries, at least $36,000. Home repairs, $8,000. School supplies. Birthday gift for Emma and Ethan, another $5,000. I had kept track. Every receipt, every payment, carefully recorded in my notebook. $250,000. $250,000. That was your choice, Madison finally said. Nobody forced you. You're right. My chest was aching with real, physical pain. Nobody forced me. Your mother died, and you needed help, and I chose to give everything I had. Every penny from the house she and I bought together. Every dollar from my pension. I chose to help you. Mom would have wanted you to help. Madison's voice turned sharp, using my late wife's memory like a weapon. She wanted to give us the space now. Let us live our lives without you hovering. Something inside me snapped. Don't. My voice came out low and dangerous. Don't use your mother to justify this. Brian stood up and moved closer. Look, James, we're trying to be nice about this. We found you a good place. They've got nurses, activities, people your age. You should be thanking us. I backed against the counter, not out of fear, but from sheer exhaustion. My legs were barely holding me up. Tomorrow morning, Madison said, finality in every single word. 10 o'clock. Pack your personal items, clothes, books, whatever fits in a suitcase. We'll drive you over Monday. What about my furniture? The question fell hollow. My desk? My books? Our house, she repeated. Our decision. The furniture stays. Above us, footsteps creaked across the ceiling. Emma and Ethan were running between rooms, laughing. They had no idea their grandfather was being erased from their lives. Brian headed toward the stairs. I'll start clearing out your room tonight, he announced. Get measurements of the desk I'm ordering. Madison turned away, dismissing me with a wave. Best get some sleep, Dad. Long day tomorrow. I stood there in the kitchen I'd maintained for 5 years, surrounded by appliances I'd purchased, gripping a counter I'd refinished. They walked away as if I were already gone. My hands still trembled. I looked down at them, weathered, spotted with age. Eleanor's wedding ring was still on my finger after 5 years of widowhood. I needed to sit down, to think, to figure out what had just happened. Behind me, Brian's heavy footsteps echoed overhead, already rearranging my space. I walked toward the hallway, each step requiring intense concentration. The house felt different now, hostile, foreign. Sounds carried from downstairs. Furniture scraping, Brian's satisfied grunt as he moved things around. Madison's voice drifted up. Make sure you pack everything tonight, Dad. Don't want to rush in the morning. I reached my bedroom door at the end of the hall. My hand found the knob, the metal cool against my palm. I turned the handle slowly. The door opened to darkness. I flicked the light switch. The small lamp on my nightstand glowed to life, illuminating the 10 by 12 room that had become my entire world. A single bed against one wall. A modest desk with my old laptop. A closet barely big enough for my few clothes. Unpacked boxes still sat stacked in the corner. 5 years later, I'd never quite settled in. I closed the door and locked it. The click felt absolute. Overhead, Brian's steps continued their territorial march. Dragging furniture, pacing, claiming space that was never his. I sat on the edge of the bed, my head in my hands. My chest heaved once, twice. Then the tears came, the first since Eleanor died. The nightstand drawer stuck slightly when I pulled it open. Inside, beneath old receipts and reading glasses, lay the photo album, brown leather worn at the corners, Eleanor's handwriting on the spine. Our life. I opened it with trembling fingers. Our wedding day. Eleanor in her simple white dress holding daisies because we couldn't afford roses. My young face grinned beside her, believing the world was full of possibilities. Madison at 7, gap-toothed and pigtailed, squeezed between us at the county fair. Her tiny hands gripping ours, absolute trust in her eyes. The last page showed Eleanor near the end, her thin, brave smile barely masking the terminal cancer eating through her, just 3 days before she died. Eleanor, if you could see this. The hospital room flashed back, beeping monitors, the antiseptic smell, her fragile hand in mine. Promise me, she had whispered. Promise you'll take care of Madison. Always, I had said. I kept that promise too well, didn't I? I flipped back to an earlier photo. Madison crying on our couch after her divorce. Bankruptcy papers scattered around her. Dad, I can't get approved for a mortgage. My credit is ruined. I'll lose the kids if we don't have a stable home. That's when I had made the decision. I sold a house, our house, Eleanor's and mine. 30 years of memories, paid off, worth $180,000. Every penny went to Madison's down payment. You'd understand, wouldn't you, Eleanor? She needed help. But would Eleanor understand this? Her daughter throwing me out like garbage? I set the album aside and opened my laptop. The old machine slowly came to life, its screen glowing in the dim room. I navigated to my spreadsheet, the one I had maintained meticulously, every expense documented, column by column. The numbers told their story. Mortgage, $2,700 per month times 60 months equals $162,000. Electric, $300 per month times 60 months equals $18,000. Water, $200 per month times 60 months equals $12,000. Internet, $150 per month times 60 months equals $9,000. Groceries, average $600 per month, $36,000. Home repairs, $8,000. Kids' expenses, $5,000. Total, approximately $250,000. $250,000. Free, she had called it. Living free. I pulled my paper notebook from the drawer, pages filled with handwritten records, receipts taped in. Every transaction was documented like evidence, because some part of me had known. Some part of me had been keeping score. Not keeping score, Eleanor. Just reminding. Making sure I remember. I remember the bank office 5 years ago. Madison beside me, nervous, chewing her thumbnail. The loan officer had reviewed her application, frowning. We'll need the primary borrower to have better credit. These late payments, the bankruptcy. Madison's eyes had pleaded. Please, Dad, please. I had signed. I became the sole borrower. My name, only my name. I immediately pulled up my banking app on a laptop. The mortgage auto payment for $2,700 was scheduled for April 1st. The electric bill for $300 was set for March 20th. My finger hovered over the screen. From upstairs, Brian's voice carried clearly through the ceiling. Yeah, this will be perfect. Desktop against that wall. Filing cabinet in the corner. Madison responded. Make sure the old furniture goes to storage. We'll sort through it later. The old furniture. My furniture. Wait. I opened a new browser tab and pulled up the county records I had bookmarked years ago. Property deed for 2847 Maple Street, Spokane, Washington. Owner, James Robert Miller. Sole owner, not a joint tenancy. Madison's name was not listed anywhere. Just mine. My heart pounded now, but the feeling was different. It wasn't fear, it was realization. The mortgage was in my name only. The house deed was in my name only. The down payment, $180,000 from the sale of my house, was my money. 5 years of payments, every single one, came from my account. My money. They think they can throw me out of my own house. I pulled out Eleanor's old suitcase from under the bed. It was scuffed and familiar. I opened it on the floor, but didn't pack. Instead, I walked to my closet, looking at my modest possessions with new eyes. My small room versus their spacious master bedroom. My few clothes versus their bulging closets. My sacrifice versus their entitlement. My house versus their assumption. I returned to the desk and pulled open a locked drawer. Inside, carefully filed, were the original mortgage documents, my signature, my name, the house deed, recorded with the county, my name, bank statements, 5 years' worth, showing every payment came from my account. The original sale documents from my old house, Eleanor's and mine. I stacked them neatly into my laptop bag. I'm sorry, Eleanor. I know I promised, but I can't let them do this. Brian's voice drifted down again. We should get a bigger desk. Really make this a professional space. Madison laughed. Whatever you want, it's ours now. No, it wasn't. I looked at Eleanor's photo one last time. Her brave smile, her kind eyes. She would have understood. She would have told me to stand up for myself. She'd spent our whole marriage telling me I was too soft, too giving. Time to stop being soft. I sat at the desk, fingers on the keyboard, and opened my email. I started typing an urgent message to Robert Clark, an old friend from my banking days who had practiced real estate law for 30 years. The words flowed more easily than I expected. I had documents to gather, records to organize, and a crucial phone call to make in the morning. Tomorrow, they expected me to pack, to leave quietly, to disappear into Sunset Pines Room 7B, grateful for their generosity. Tomorrow, I had very different plans. Sleep never truly came. I closed the laptop around 2 o'clock in the morning, but my mind kept spinning to the numbers, the legal possibilities, and 5 years' worth of receipts. The ceiling became a screen where I projected every conversation, every payment, every moment that had led me to this locked bedroom door. Gray light began to creep through the window. 6:30. I stood slowly, my joints protesting, and moved to the closet. The small safe sat on the floor behind my winter coats, the one I'd installed 3 years ago. The combination was one only I knew, 14-27-63, Eleanor's birthday. Inside were the house deed, the original mortgage papers, and bank statements bundled by year. I had kept everything. Some instinct had told me to preserve proof, even when I had had no reason to doubt my daughter. I carefully transferred the documents to my jacket's inner pocket, folded neatly. The weight felt significant. Not just paper, but power. Upstairs, Brian's alarm blared. Footsteps crossed overhead. The shower started, pipes groaning. Morning routines were happening in my house without me. By 8:45, I couldn't delay any longer. I descended the stairs slowly, gripping the rail, the exhaustion making each step deliberate. The kitchen hummed with normality. Madison stood at the stove flipping pancakes, humming something cheerful. Brian scrolled through his phone at the table. Emma and Ethan sat with syrup-sticky faces, giggling. A perfect family scene, one that didn't include me. Dad, Madison's voice was too bright, too practiced. There you are. I made you a short list of what you can take. Just the essentials, obviously. Clothes, toiletries, your medications. The furniture stays. It came with the house. My books, I managed to say. Brian looked up from his phone. We'll need the shelf space. Besides, when was the last time you actually read any of them? Last week. I had been reading Eleanor's favorite novel again, trying to feel close to her. Emma suddenly noticed me. She jumped from her chair, her small syrup-sticky hands reaching out. Grandpa! Her arms wrapped around my waist. The simple trust in her hug cracked something inside my chest. Emma, come here. Madison's hand closed on her daughter's shoulder, pulling her back. Grandpa needs to finish packing. But why is he leaving? Ethan's lower lip trembled. Did we do something bad? Of course not, sweetie. Brian's tone turned patronizing. Grandpa's just getting old. He needs to be somewhere with nurses and people who can help him. It's better for everyone. The lies settled between us like a poison. Emma started crying. I don't want Grandpa to go. Enough. Madison's voice sharpened. Both of you upstairs. I want to say something, to tell them I love them, that this wasn't about them. But Madison's glare warned me off. Any comfort I offer would only be contradicted, twisted, and used against me. The children trudged upstairs, Emma's sobs echoing down the hallway. I turned and walked back to my room, without a word. It was 9 o'clock, 1 hour until they expected me to be gone. I took Eleanor's suitcase out of the closet, the one she'd used on our last vacation together to the coast before her cancer diagnosis. I laid it open on the bed. 3 shirts, 2 pairs of pants, underwear, socks, toiletries from the bathroom, the photo of Eleanor from my nightstand, that was essential, my laptop, charger, and the small notebook where I tracked every expense went into my backpack. Everything else? Let them have it. The books I collected over decades. The desk where I had paid their bills. The bed I had slept in while they plotted my removal. They were just material things. Overhead, furniture scraped across the floor. Brian was already moving into what he thought was his new office, already erasing me from the space. I pulled out my phone and opened the camera. A photo of the small room, a photo of the sparse closet, a photo of the minimal treasures they'd allowed me, evidence of how little space I'd occupied in my own house. 9:45. I zipped the suitcase closed and shouldered the backpack. My hand automatically went to my jacket pocket, feeling the documents safe inside. Everything that truly mattered was there. Proof of ownership, proof of payment, proof of betrayal. I walked to the door, opened it, and moved down the hallway one last time. Madison was waiting by the front entrance, checking her watch. Brian was lounging on the couch in the living room, looking supremely satisfied. Finally, Madison reached for the doorknob. "I'll drive you over." "Before I go," I said, setting the suitcase down gently, "there's something we need to discuss." Her hand dropped. "Dad, we've talked about this. Everything's arranged. The mortgage payment, the bills." I straightened my jacket, feeling the precious documents shift against my chest. "I won't be paying them anymore." Silence stretched for 3 long heartbeats. Then Brian threw his head back and laughed. Genuine, loud amusement. "Right. Sure you won't." Madison's smile turned to pity. "Dad, don't be ridiculous. You can't just stop paying. Where will we live?" I pulled out my phone. The banking app was already open to the automatic payments page. I turned it so they could see clearly. Mortgage, $2,700 monthly. I pointed to the option. Cancel. My finger hovered over the screen. Madison reached for the phone. "Dad, stop this nonsense." I pulled back and tapped the confirmation. The word canceled appeared in red. "You can't survive without us." Brian stood up, his casual confidence finally faltering. "You're 63. No job. Where exactly do you think you'll go? Good luck with the April payment." I picked up my suitcase, gripping the handle firmly. Time for me to leave. I opened the door myself. The cold, sharp March morning air rushed in. Freedom smelled like spring. "Dad!" Madison's voice rose behind me. "Wait, you can't just..." I stepped onto the porch. The door closed behind me with a soft click. Brian's laughter erupted before the door had fully closed, loud and derisive, echoing into the street. "He thinks he's serious." I heard his voice carry through the walls. Madison's response came calmer, almost amused. "He'll be back by dinnertime begging." "Where's it going to go?" "He has no one." I walked down the driveway with measured steps, not rushing. My dignity was intact despite their mockery. Behind me, the door flew open. "Dad!" Madison stood on the porch in her slippers. No coat. "You can't just leave. This is insane." I didn't turn around. I reached the sidewalk, pulled out my phone, and opened the taxi app. Estimated arrival, 6 minutes. "Dad, listen to me." "I'm listening." I stopped and faced her, but kept my distance. "You told me to leave. You gave me a list of what I could take. You made arrangements for my new life. So here I am, Madison, leaving. But the mortgage..." Her voice climbed higher. "You can't just stop paying." "Actually, I can." My thumb moved across the phone screen. 3 more taps. Electric bill canceled. Water bill canceled. Internet canceled. Each word landed like a stone in still water. Mrs. Chen's curtain moved next door. Mr. Patterson stepped onto his porch across the street, coffee mug in hand, watching. "You're being childish." Madison's face flushed. "This is our home." "Your home." I corrected gently. "You've made..." A silver Toyota Camry turned onto our street. Rajesh, according to the name on the app. Madison ran down the driveway, still in slippers, her bathrobe flapping open over her pajamas. "Stop. You're making a scene." The taxi pulled to the curb. I opened the back door and loaded my suitcase. "Dad, please." She reached for my arm. I moved away, not roughly, just deliberately. I got in the back seat and closed the door. "Where to, sir?" The driver, Rajesh, met my eyes with a kind, tired look. "Riverside Inn, please." Madison pressed against the window, her breath fogging the glass. Brian appeared in the doorway behind her, Finally realizing this wasn't a bluff, the taxi pulled away. I watched through the back window as Madison stood frozen in the middle of the street. Brian joined her, both of them staring after the car. Neighbors on their porches served as witnesses to the scene. 5 years ago, I had driven up that same street with everything I owned, ready to help my daughter start fresh. Now, I was leaving with just a backpack and a suitcase, but this time, I was leaving on my terms. Family troubles? Rajesh asked softly after several blocks of silence. You could say that, I replied. Sometimes distance is necessary. For perspective, for healing, for reminding who you are. Thank you, I told him. My phone buzzed. Madison. I silenced it. Another buzz. Text message. I didn't read it. 15 minutes later, we pulled into the Riverside Inn parking lot, a modest mid-range hotel. It was clean, functional, and anonymous, exactly what I needed. The lobby smelled of coffee and industrial carpet cleaner. The clerk barely looked up as I booked 7 nights, paying with my debit card. $89 per night. Cheap compared to what I'd been spending on their lives. Rajesh helped me with my suitcase at the entrance. Thank you. I handed him $20 for a $12 ride. He studied my face for a moment. Good luck, sir. Whatever comes next. The elevator rose slowly to 2nd floor. Room 237. Queen bed, small desk, window overlooking the parking lot. Everything I needed, nothing I didn't. I locked the door, put my suitcase on the bed and my backpack on the chair. Then I removed my jacket and carefully extracted the documents from the inner pocket. Mortgage deed, house title, 5 years of bank statements. I spread them across the bed like playing cards. Each one represented a truth Madison and Brian didn't want to acknowledge. My phone showed 14 missed calls, 8 from Madison, 6 from Brian, 3 new voicemails, which I didn't listen to yet. I sat at the desk and opened my laptop. The hotel Wi-Fi was slow but functional. I logged into my banking website. The automatic payments page loaded. Line by line, I moved through the list of bills. Bill, next due, action taken. Mortgage, $2,700. April 1st, already canceled. Electric, $300. March 20th, cancel now. Water/sewer, $200. March 25th, cancel now. Internet, $150. March 18th, cancel now. Natural gas, $180. March 2nd, cancel now. Zut Sang Trang 10. Click. Confirm. Screenshot. Click. Confirm. Screenshot. Each cancellation was saved to a folder on my desktop titled House Documentation Evidence. I took a deep breath. This was real, irreversible. My phone rang again. I glanced at the screen. Madison. Time to make one more call. I scrolled through my contacts to the bank's customer service number. I endured a 5-minute hold with cheerful music playing while I stared at the documents spread across my bed. This is Jennifer with customer service. How can I help you today? I need to verify account information. I kept my voice steady, professional. I rattled off the account number, my security questions, and my mother's maiden name. What information did you need, Mr. Miller? The mortgage account. I said, can you confirm the account holder? Keys clicked on her end. James Robert Miller. Sole borrower. Sole owner. Is there something specific you needed? Are there any co-borrowers on this account? No, sir, just you and the property deed. That's also solely in my name. According to our records, yes. Property at 2847 Maple Street, Spokane. Sole owner, James Robert Miller. The words I needed to hear were finally made official by a disinterested third party. Thank you. That's all I needed to know. I hung up. The documents lay across the bed. Official, binding proof. My phone rang again, Madison. I looked at the documents, then at the phone. This time, I didn't silence it. I let it ring. The afternoon disappeared into fitful sleep and ignored phone calls. By 6 p.m., I had slept 4 hours, the first real rest in 2 days. My body ached from tension, but my mind felt clearer. I showered, changed into clean clothes, and went downstairs to the hotel restaurant. A simple dinner, soup, sandwich, coffee, was fuel for what came next. Back in my room at 8 p.m., I organized the documents into neat stacks on the desk. Property deed here, mortgage papers there, bank statements arranged chronologically, 5 years of payments proving my claim. My phone sat beside my laptop. Robert Clark's number was saved from a decade ago, back when we worked together at the credit union. He'd been starting his law practice then, and I had helped him navigate some financial complications. I didn't think he owed me anything, but I hoped he'd remember. I dialed. 3 rings. James. Robert's voice held cautious surprise. It's been years. Is everything all right? I need legal help. Can you talk? Of course. What's going on? I told him everything. The birthday party, the retirement home brochure, Madison's entitlement, Brian's casual cruelty, the house I purchased, the mortgage I paid, the $250,000 I'd spent over 5 years, and my dramatic departure this morning. Silence stretched when I finished. James, He paused. I'm so sorry. God, that's awful. Can you help me? Let me understand the situation. The house deed is in your name only? Solely mine. Madison never got added. Her credit was too damaged. And the mortgage? My name only. I'm the sole borrower. More silence. I heard him rustling papers. Washington state law is clear on this, Robert said finally. You're the legal owner. They're essentially guests without a rental agreement. You can evict them with 30 days written notice. 30 days. Yes. Then, if they don't leave voluntarily, we file formal eviction proceedings. That adds another 2 to 4 weeks, depending on the court schedule. 6 to 8 weeks total, realistically. 6 to 8 weeks. Less time than I'd live with them each year. There's something you should know. Robert's tone shifted. This will get ugly. Family evictions are always tough. Madison will fight. Are you absolutely certain you want to do this? I thought about Emma Syrup's sticky hug, Ethan's confused tears, my grandchildren innocent in all of this. Then I thought about the birthday cake with its melted candles, the glossy brochure for Sunset Pines, Madison's cold dismissal. Our house now, Dad. I'm certain. All right. My fee is typically $1,500 for something like this, but given our history, he paused. $1,000 flat rate. That includes drafting the notice, handling any court filings if necessary, and consultation through the process. That's more than fair. Thank you. Meet me tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock. There's a coffee shop downtown, Morning Brew. Know it. I'll find it. Bring all your documentation, everything you've got. We'll go through it together. I hung up, feeling something I hadn't felt since Friday night. Hope. But first, I needed to organize my evidence properly. I opened Excel and created a new spreadsheet. 5 years of expenses broken down by month and category. Each cell filled with numbers that told a story. Mortgage $2,700, electric $300, water $200, internet $150. March 2020 through March 2025. 60 rows, 6 columns. Simple addition that totaled to one undeniable truth. I'd paid for everything. My fingers flew across the keyboard until past 11 p.m. When I finally saved the file and closed the laptop, my eyes burned, but my mind felt organized, prepared. I set my alarm for 7:30 a.m. and slept dreamlessly until morning. The taxi arrived at 8:45 a.m. I dressed carefully, button-down shirt, slacks, jacket, professional, serious. Morning Brew occupied a converted brick building in Spokane's downtown business district. Exposed wooden beams, the rich smell of espresso, business people with laptops at small tables. Robert sat in the corner, 2 coffees already ordered. He stood when I approached. He was mid-40s now, gray at the temples, wearing wire-rimmed glasses, but he had the same kind eyes I remembered. James. His handshake was firm, warm. Good to see you. Wish it were under better circumstances. We sat. He pulled out a legal pad, pen poised. Tell me everything again, slowly this time. I'll need details. So I did. Every payment, every sacrifice, Eleanor's death and my promise to help Madison, the house purchase with my down payment, 5 years of covering every expense while living in a 10 by 12 room. Robert took notes, occasionally asking questions. When I finished, he sat back, studying me. You understand what you're asking? This is your daughter, your grandchildren's home. I understand. They'll paint you as the villain, the heartless father who threw his family onto the street. They already painted me as a freeloader in front of 20 people on my birthday. He nodded slowly. Then let's discuss strategy. He explained the process. A formal written notice would be delivered to Madison and Brian stating they had 30 days to vacate. If they refused, we would file for eviction through the court. Given that I was the sole owner and they had no lease agreement or rental payment history, the court would almost certainly rule in my favor. The timeline. If we deliver the notice this Friday, March 24th, they have until April 23rd to leave voluntarily. If they don't, we file the eviction petition. The court hearing is typically scheduled 2 weeks out, so early May for a final court order, assuming they fight it. 2 months. It felt both impossibly long and surprisingly fast. How much will this cost? $1,000 total. That covers everything. Notice drafting, court filings, representation if needed. I pulled out my checkbook and wrote the check right there, my hand steady. James Miller, $1,000 to Robert Clark, attorney at law. I'll draft a notice today, Robert said, tucking the check into his briefcase. You can review it tomorrow, and we'll plan delivery for Friday. Important, document everything. Every interaction, every phone call, every text message. Save it all. I will. One more thing. He leaned forward. Be prepared for Madison to escalate. When people realize they're losing something they feel entitled to, they get desperate. Ugly. Don't engage. Don't argue. Present the documents and walk away. Can you do that? I thought about 40 years of being too soft, too giving, too willing to sacrifice my own comfort for others. Yes, I can do that. We shook hands again outside Morning Brew. Robert headed to his office, and I walked 3 blocks to my bank branch. The marble-floored interior felt official, serious. I took a number, a 47, and waited, watching other customers conduct their business. I thought about all the times I'd stood in banks like this one, signing papers, making deposits, managing the finances Madison couldn't handle. 15 minutes later, a teller called me over. I need copies of all payment records for account ending in 4721, I said. 5 years' worth. Her smile flickered with curiosity, but she remained professional. That'll take about an hour to compile. Can you wait? I'll wait. An hour later, the teller returned with a thick folder, rubber-banded shut. All your payment confirmations, automatic transfers, and monthly statements. 5 years. The sheer weight of the folder surprised me. Physical proof in my hands. Outside, the afternoon sun felt warmer than it should in mid-March. I walked back to the hotel, carrying evidence that weighed more than just paper. In the small business center off the lobby, I spent the next hour meticulously duplicating everything. I made 3 complete sets. Original documents locked in my hotel safe, working copies for Robert, and evidence copies for potential court proceedings. I labeled manila folders carefully, organizing them chronologically. By 1:30 p.m., I had a complete legal arsenal. My phone buzzed. A text from Robert. Notice drafted. Review tomorrow, 10 a.m., my office. I replied, yes, thank you. Sitting at the small desk in my hotel room, I created one final document, a timeline. March 15th, 2025, public humiliation at birthday party. March 16th, 2025, departure, payment cancellations. March 17th, 2025, legal consultation, evidence gathering. March 24th, 2025, planned delivery of eviction notice. April 23rd, 2025, deadline/move-out date. Every day was precise, every action documented, every step planned. I looked at the organized folders, the timeline printed and highlighted, the evidence arranged like a legal brief. Everything was in place. The documentation, the legal representation, the plan. In 1 week, I would deliver the notice, and in 6 weeks, I would reclaim my home. Monday evening passed in quiet preparation. I organized the evidence folders one final time, ordered room service, and slept better than I had in weeks. Knowing the legal machinery was in motion brought an unexpected sense of peace. Tuesday morning, March 18th, 9 a.m. I sat at the hotel desk, laptop open, banking website loaded. The payment management screen showed my recent cancellations. The mortgage was already struck through, but 4 more items remained scheduled for the coming days. Electric bill $300, due March 20th, 2 days away. Water and sewer $200, due March 25th. Internet service $150, due today, March 18th. Natural gas $180, due March 22nd. One by one, I clicked through each cancellation. Confirm. Yes, I'm sure. Screenshot saved. The systematic dismantling of their comfortable life was executed with precision. Each confirmation email arrived within minutes. Spokane Electric Company. Automatic payment canceled. Cascade Internet Services. Payment method removed. My phone sat silent beside the laptop. No calls from Madison. She was still in denial, still believing I'd cave, still thinking this was temporary insanity from a confused old man. I let her believe it. Reality would arrive soon enough. Wednesday and Thursday moved slowly. I discovered a freedom I'd forgotten existed. Morning walks along the Spokane River, quiet reading rooms at the downtown library, sitting in coffee shops observing other people's normal lives. Thursday evening, I received a text from Robert. Notice ready for Monday delivery. How are you holding up? I typed back, surprisingly well, thank you. Friday, March 21st, 2:23 in the afternoon. My phone buzzed, a screen lit up, Madison Mobile. I let it ring 6 times. Then I answered. Dad. Her voice came high-pitched, strained. Dad, I got a message from the bank. They're saying the mortgage payment is overdue. There must be some mistake. There's no mistake. Silence stretched between us. Dad, this isn't funny anymore. The bank is threatening late fees. The payment was due on the 15th, and I canceled the automatic payment on March 17th, as I told you I would. You can't. Her breath caught. You can't actually be serious. That's $2,700. How are we supposed to? That's not my problem anymore. Madison, you told me to leave. You had arrangements made. I'm living my new life now. We can't afford the mortgage. Panic edged into her voice. Brian's between contracts and my salary doesn't cover. Perhaps you should consider that before humiliating me at my birthday party. That was Brian's idea. I was just... You stood there and watched. You agreed with every word. You handed me that brochure like you were doing me a favor. She was crying now, genuine sobs. Dad, please. What about Emma and Ethan? Where will they live if we lose the house? I suggest you figure that out quickly. You have until April 1st to make the March payment. After that, the bank will add penalties. We don't have that kind of money. We bought Brian's truck last month, and we just put down a deposit for that Mexico vacation in May. The words hung in the air. A truck, a vacation, no mortgage payment. Goodbye, Madison. Wait, Dad, don't. Brian's voice erupted through the phone. He grabbed it from her. Listen here, old man. You're not going to destroy my family because you're having some kind of breakdown. I've talked to people, lawyers. You can't just stop paying and keep the house. That's not how it works. Actually, Brian, that's exactly how it works when my name is on the deed and yours isn't. We'll sue. We'll take you to court. You'll lose everything. My lawyer is waiting for exactly that. Robert Clark. When people realize they're losing something they feel entitled to, they get desperate, ugly. Don't engage. Don't argue. Present the documents and walk away. Can you do that? I thought about 40 years of being too soft, too giving, too willing to sacrifice for others' comfort. Yes, I can do that. Robert and I shook hands again. He headed back to his office, and I returned to my hotel, the adrenaline still running high. I blocked both Madison and Brian's numbers immediately. 30 seconds later, the phone rang again, Madison calling from an unknown number. I let it go to voicemail. Then another call and another voicemail. By 6 p.m. Friday evening, I had 8 new voicemails. I decided not to listen yet. The pain was too raw, too fresh. Tomorrow, I would review, document, and add them to the evidence file. Saturday brought the full onslaught. The phone rang at 8:15 in the morning, 10:42, 2:20, 6:55. Every few hours, from different numbers each time. Madison must have been calling from friends' phones, desperate to get through. Text messages arrived between calls. Photos appeared on my screen that made my chest tighten. Emma holding a drawing. Crayon letters spelled, "I miss Grandpa," in uneven blue script. Her face looked tear-stained, confused. Another photo showed Ethan. Madison's accompanying text was chilling. "Look what you're doing to them." I walked to the bathroom, splashed cold water on my face, and looked at myself in the mirror. My aged eyes, lined by stress, now held something new, resolve. This was the hardest part. The children didn't understand. They couldn't understand adult consequences, adult choices, or adult cruelty. But if I gave in now, what would I teach them? That manipulation works. That treating people terribly has no consequences, as long as you cry afterward. It was better they learned now that even love has limits. I saved the photos anyway. Evidence of Madison's manipulation tactics. Then I blocked those numbers, too. Saturday evening at 7 p.m., I called Robert. "They're escalating," I told him. Dozens of calls over 2 days, threatening messages, photos of the grandchildren. "Document everything," Robert said calmly. "Save voicemails, screenshot texts, note timestamps. If Brian shows up at your hotel, call 911 immediately. Don't engage with him." He mentioned where I'm staying. Spokane's not that big. There are only so many hotels in your price range. He probably called around. Still, be aware. Lock your door. Chain engaged. If you feel threatened, call the police first, me second. One more day, James. Monday, we deliver the notice. Then the countdown begins. After hanging up, I finally listened to the accumulated voicemails, documenting the pattern. The messages range from Madison's tearful apology to her anger. "You're being incredibly selfish," and Brian's aggression. "You're going to regret this, James. I have friends in this town. You're making a mistake." I created a detailed log. Date, time, caller, content summary, threat level. Everything organized, everything documented. By Sunday morning, March 23rd, I received a new voicemail. Brian's voice was different, calculated, menacing. "I know where you're staying, James. Riverside Inn, right? Room 237. Small town, Spokane. People talk. Just wanted you to know. I know exactly where to find you." My concern was real, but measured. How did he find my specific room number? It didn't matter. What mattered was the threat. I checked the door locks again. Chain engaged, security latch fastened. I sent a text to Robert. "Brian knows hotel location and room number. Latest voicemail contains implicit threat." His reply was immediate. "Document. If he shows up, call the police immediately. Do not confront." I watched the parking lot as afternoon shadows lengthened. One more day before the official notice. At 10 a.m. Sunday morning, I was in Robert's office downtown. The professional building was quiet on the weekend. Robert met me at the entrance, concern evident in his expression. We went upstairs to his third-floor office. The eviction notice sat centered on his desk, printed on official letterhead. I sat across from him, the document between us like a declaration of war. "Before we finalize this," Robert said, sliding the papers toward me, "I need you to understand what you're doing. This isn't just canceling payments. This is forcing your daughter and her family out of their home, your grandchildren's home. There's no going back after this. Once delivered, it's official, legal, binding." "I know," He studied my face, searching for doubt. Finding none, he nodded. Then let's review it together. The notice was 2 pages, dense with legal language, but certain phrases stood out, bold and unmistakable. Notice to vacate premises. Property address, 2847 Maple Street, Spokane, Washington. To Madison Miller Thompson and Brian Thompson. Requirement: you are hereby notified that you must vacate the above referenced property within 30 days of receipt of this notice. The property owner, James Robert Miller, sole legal owner, as recorded with Spokane County. Requires possession of property. Deadline: April 23, 2025. Consequences: failure to vacate will result in judicial eviction proceedings through Spokane County Superior Court. Everything here is legally precise, Robert explained. Washington state law requires 30 days notice for residents without a lease agreement. They have no lease. They pay no rent. Legally, they're guests who've overstayed their welcome. What if they refuse to leave? Then we file for formal eviction with the court. It takes another 2 to 4 weeks depending on the schedule. But given that you're the sole owner, you've documented 5 years of payments, and they have no legal claim to the property. He tapped the thick evidence folder I brought. The judge will rule in your favor. How quickly? With this level of documentation, one hearing may be 90 minutes. Then the sheriff enforces the eviction order. A knock interrupted us. Lindsay Baker, the notary, entered. A professional woman in her 50s carrying her official stamp. The notarization process was brief but ceremonial. ID verification. Signature witness. I signed the document. The heavy thunk of the official seal on the paper. It was done. Legal. Irreversible. Personal delivery or certified mail? Robert asked. Personal. I replied, my voice firm. I want to see her face when she reads it. That's brave or foolish, he said, but he sealed the notice in an official envelope. She'll react badly. Brian might get physical. Are you sure? I thought about the birthday party. The glossy brochure, the casual dismissal of 30 years of sacrifice. I'm sure. Monday morning, March 24th, 7 a.m. I stood in the hotel bathroom preparing for battle. Clean slacks, pressed shirt, jacket, presenting authority, competence, finality. The notice envelope sat on the desk, official and heavy with consequence. My phone buzzed. Robert's text. Today's the day. Call me after. Be safe. The taxi arrived at 9:30 a.m. Rajesh again. Fate or coincidence? Big day, sir. Very big. 25 minutes through Spokane, past the park where I'd pushed Em on the swings, past the grocery store where I'd shopped every Saturday, past the life I'd lived for 5 years. The house looked unchanged from outside, but small signs of stress were visible. The lawn slightly overgrown, newspapers accumulating by the door. Wait here, please, I told Rajesh. This might go badly. He nodded, understanding. I walked to the door, the envelope heavy in my hand. Each step felt weighted with history. The doorbell rang loud in the morning quiet. After 30 seconds, I heard footsteps. Brian opened the door, unshaven, angry before he even saw who it was. What do you want? I need to see Madison. Official business. He blocked the doorway, arms crossed. She doesn't want to talk to you. This isn't a conversation. It's a delivery. Madison appeared behind him, her hair unbrushed, wearing a bathrobe. Dad, what are you? I held up the envelope, the official letterhead visible through the window. She took it with trembling fingers, opened it slowly, and unfolded the document. I watched comprehension dawn on her face as she read. Her mouth opened. Notice to vacate, she whispered. 30 days. April 23rd. Brian snatched the paper. What is this? Some kind of joke. It's completely legal, I said evenly. I'm the sole property owner. You reside here without a lease. Washington state law requires 30 days written notice. Madison's voice came out strangled. You can't. This isn't legal. You can't just throw us out. I can and I am. You have 30 days to find other housing. April 23rd. She looked up from the paper, tears starting. That's barely a month. 30 days is the legal requirement. I suggest you start looking for apartments today. Brian stepped forward, aggressive. We'll fight this. We'll take you to court. You'll lose. My lawyer is waiting for that. I produced Robert's business card and held it out. Robert Clark, Clark and Associates. Have your attorney contact him. You'll find I have documentation of every mortgage payment, every utility bill, every expense for the past 5 years. All in my name, all for my account. The card hung in the air between us. Neither took it. I put on the doorframe. Madison collapsed against the wall, sliding down slightly. Where will we go? What about Emma and Ethan? Their school, their friends? Those are questions you'll need to answer. My voice stayed level despite the sharp pain in my chest. You made your choice on March 15th. This is the result. Brian's fist clenched. You're making a huge mistake. Old man, you don't know who you're messing with. I know exactly what I'm doing, and I have documentation, legal representation, and the full support of Washington state law. I stepped back from the doorway. 30 days. April 23rd. Have a good day. I turned and walked back to the taxi. Behind me, Madison's voice rose. Dad, wait. You can't. I didn't look back. I reached the taxi, got in, and closed the door. Where to, sir? Rajesh's eyes showed sympathy. Back to the hotel, please. As we pulled away, I saw Madison standing in the driveway, still clutching the notice. Brian was beside her, both of them frozen in disbelief. My hands trembled in my lap. The adrenaline rush was immediate and overwhelming. Are you okay? Rajesh asked gently. I will be back at the hotel by 10:45 a.m. I went straight to my room and called Robert. It's done. Notice delivered at 10 o'clock this morning. How did they react? Shock, disbelief. Brian made threats. Madison cried. Neither of them thinks I'm serious yet. They will. Robert's voice carried the weight of experience. Reality usually hits around day 3. Then comes desperation, then anger. Be prepared for the next phase. What are the chances they leave voluntarily? Honestly, 10% maybe. Most people fight until the sheriff arrives. But you've done everything correctly. The law is on your side. Thank you, Robert. Call me if anything escalates, anything at all. I sat in my hotel room, a copy of the notice in my hands, reading it again, feeling the weight of what I'd done. April 23rd, 2025. 4 weeks away. At 2 p.m. that afternoon, my phone rang. Unknown number. Madison's voice was different this time. Not crying. Cold. Dad. I called a lawyer. He says you can't do this. That we have tenant rights. Then have him call my lawyer, Robert Clark. We're not leaving. You understand that? You'll have to drag us out. If necessary, the Spokane County Sheriff will do exactly that on April 24th. You're going to regret this. Her voice shook with rage now, not tears. When Emma and Ethan ask why Grandpa threw them out of their home, what am I supposed to tell them? The question hit like a knife, but I prepared for it. Tell them the truth. That actions have consequences. That treating people with cruelty has a price. And that sometimes even people who love you have to say no. She hung up without another word. The phone rang again immediately. Unknown number. I silenced it. Let the calls come. Let the threats pile up. Let the desperation mount. I had the law on my side now. Everything else was just noise. 6 hours since I'd handed Madison the notice, and my phone was vibrating constantly with incoming calls. Unknown number. Unknown number. Unknown number. Each one was Madison using different phones. I answered the first 3. Same conversation every time. Begging, threatening, crying. By the 4th call, I stopped answering. I just let them roll to voicemail. By 11 p.m. Monday night, I had 15 new messages. I ate my room service dinner mechanically, watching the screen light up every few minutes. At 10 p.m., I checked the first few voicemails. Message 1, 6:18 p.m. Dad, please pick up. I know you're angry, but we can work this out. Just message 3, 8:42 p.m. This is ridiculous. You can't throw your own family onto the street. What kind of person does that? Message 7, 10:15 p.m., Madison crying. Emma asked about you tonight. She wanted to call you. I didn't know what to tell her. How could you do this to them? I couldn't listen to more. Not tonight. I turned the phone to silent mode, screen facing down. But even silenced, I saw the reflected glow every time it lit up with another call. Sleep came in fragments. Tuesday morning, March 25th, 7 a.m. 23 missed calls, 31 text messages. I opened the text. At 6:47 a.m., an MMS notification appeared. I opened it. Emma's tear-stained face filled the screen, holding a drawer with a crude crayon letters spelling, "I miss Grandpa." A second photo showed Ethan crying, small hands reaching toward the camera. Madison's text, "Look what you're doing to them." My chest constricted. I sat heavily on the bed's edge, phone in trembling hands. This was the weapon I had known would come. Children weaponized against their grandfather. I walked to the bathroom, splashed cold water on my face, and looked in the mirror. The pain was real, undeniable. Emma and Ethan didn't deserve this confusion, this hurt. But if I gave in now, what would I teach them? That manipulation succeeds. That treating people terribly has no consequences, as long as you cry afterward. No, better they learn now that boundaries exist, that consequences are real, that even people who love you won't tolerate disrespect. I saved the photos anyway, more evidence of Madison's tactics, then blocked those numbers. The calls continued all day, different numbers, relentless frequency. I stopped trying to answer and stopped checking voicemails immediately. By afternoon, I walked to Riverfront Park. My phone vibrated constantly in my pocket. An elderly woman on a bench gave me a sympathetic look. Persistent caller. "You could say that." I replied, "Sometimes the phone's off button is the kindest thing for everyone." Back at the hotel by 4 p.m., exhausted from doing nothing but walking. The voicemail count had reached 39. I forced myself to listen, documenting each one in my growing log. Message 10, Tuesday, 11:48 a.m. "You selfish bastard. After everything we've done for you, giving you a place to live, feeding you, this is how you repay us." The irony of everything we've done for you would be funny if it wasn't so painful. Message 15, Tuesday, 3:35 p.m. Brian's voice. "I'm telling you right now, old man, you don't want to mess with me. I have connections. People who owe me favors. This isn't over." Vague, intimidating threats. Message 23, Tuesday, 6:10 p.m. Madison again, voice cracking. "Mom would be so disappointed in you. She want you to help us, to support your family. You're betraying her memory. Using Eleanor, my dead wife, to manipulate me." That one almost worked. Wednesday, March 26, 7:30 a.m. A voicemail from Brian left overnight. "Hey, James, just wanted you to know I know where you're staying. Riverside Inn, right? Not hard to figure out. Small town. People talk. So maybe think about that next time you ignore Madison's calls." My hand tightened on the phone. The implication was clear. I'm watching. I know where you sleep. I can find you. By noon, a second voicemail from Brian arrived. "Talk to a lawyer friend. Real lawyer, not whatever hack you hired. He says we have tenant rights. Adverse possession. Can't just throw us out. So enjoy your little hotel vacation while it lasts. When this is over, you'll be lucky if we don't sue you for everything." Bluffing. He had to be, but doubt still crept in. I called Robert at 6 p.m. that evening. They're escalating. 50-plus calls. Brian's making threats, knows my hotel, mentions physical harm indirectly. Madison sent photos of the grandchildren crying. "Document everything," Robert said, his calm voice steadying me. "Screenshot texts save voicemails, log times, and content. If Brian shows up at your hotel, don't engage. Call 911 immediately." He mentioned lawyers, said they have tenant rights. They don't. They pay no rent. They have no lease. Brian's grasping at legal-sounding words without understanding what they mean. Thursday morning, March 27th, 9 a.m. I walked to an electronics store downtown. I purchased a basic smartphone and a prepaid plan. $1.40 for phone, $30 for a month of service. 2 phones. Simple strategy. The old phone would continue receiving their harassment, building evidence. The new phone was a clean slate, only critical contacts. I transferred Robert's number, Sarah's number, the hotel's front desk. 3 contacts total. Back at the hotel, I put the old phone on the desk, plugged in, and silenced. The screen lit up every few minutes. 12 calls that morning already. Like watching enemy fire that couldn't touch me anymore. The new phone sat silent in my pocket, a peaceful lifeline. I texted Robert from the new number. Got secure line, old number still documenting their calls. His reply, smart, save everything. That afternoon, I finally reviewed the accumulated voicemails, 47 total across 3 days. The pattern was clear: morning, pleadings, apologies. Afternoon, anger, accusations. Evening, manipulative, guilt-focused. Madison's emotional cycle playing out in recorded segments. Brian's messages remain continuous. I created a summary document, harassment pattern analysis, March 24th to 27th, for Robert, for potential police reports, for court if necessary. By Thursday evening, I sat at the hotel desk with 2 phones side by side. The old phone showed 12 new notifications visible on the lock screen. The new phone sat silent, showing only the time. Document folders were stacked beside the laptop. The eviction notice copy. April 23rd, 2025. 27 days away. They thought wearing me down would work. They thought constant pressure would break my resolve. They thought using Emma and Ethan would shatter my determination. They were wrong. Every call, every threat, every manipulation just proves I'd made the right choice. The pain was real. Emma's confused face, Ethan's tears. They hurt more than anything Madison or Brian could say. But giving in wouldn't help them. It would teach them that love means accepting mistreatment. That family means no boundaries. That manipulation is an acceptable tool. Better they learn now while young that even people who love you have limits. I opened my new phone, texted Robert, confirming I had documented 3 days of harassment, 50+ calls, and multiple threats. His reply came immediately. Excellent. This strengthens our position, if needed. Friday morning, I made a decision. As the property owner, I had the legal right to inspect the house, to see its condition, to ensure Madison and Brian weren't damaging what was legally mine. I called Robert at 9 a.m. I want to go to the house today. Can you come with me? A pause. That's bold. You sure about this? I need to see it. See what they've done to my room. Give me an hour. I'll meet you there at 2 o'clock. The drive took 25 minutes. I parked across the street at 1:50 p.m. Robert arrived separately, parking a sedan behind my car. At exactly 2 o'clock, we crossed the street together. The house looked worn. Newspapers were piled on the porch. 3 days' worth at least. The lawn needed mowing. Small signs of stress, of systems breaking down without my maintenance. My keys still worked in the lock. They hadn't changed it. The door swung open. Stale air hit me first. Unwashed dishes, stress, sweat, desperation. Then visual chaos. The living room was cluttered with laundry piles. Dirty plates were scattered across the coffee table. Garbage bags were stacked by the door. This was how they lived without me. Madison appeared from the kitchen, freezing mid-step when she saw us. Dad, where are you? You can't just walk in here. This is my property. I stepped fully inside, Robert behind me. I have every legal right to inspect it. Brian thundered down the stairs, unshaven, wearing sweatpants. This is trespassing. Get out. Robert's voice stayed professional, calm. Mr. Thompson, as the sole property owner, Mr. Miller has a right to enter and inspect his property at any time. If you interfere, that becomes obstruction. I walked through the living room, noting damage. Scratches on the hardwood floor, water stains on a ceiling corner from a leak they'd ignored. The kitchen was worse. Sink overflowing, grease splattered on the stove I'd kept spotless for 5 years. I see how you care for your property, I said quietly. Madison's voice came defensively, sharp. We haven't had money for repairs. You cut off everything. I paid for everything for 5 years. Every repair, every upgrade, every maintenance cost. She had no response. I moved toward the stairs. Brian blocked my path, chest puffed out. Where do you think you're going? Upstairs to see my room. The hell you are. Robert stepped between us smoothly. Mr. Thompson, step aside or this becomes a legal issue you don't want. Obstruction of property owner rights is actionable. Brian moved aside, muttering threats. I climbed the stairs slowly. My bedroom door stood open. I entered. It was a complete transformation. Brian's gaming paradise. A massive desk with 3 monitors. RGB lighting strips glowing purple. A gaming chair where my modest bed had been. Posters covered the walls. Video game characters. My 5 years erased in 2 weeks. The closet was empty. Where are my things? Madison's voice came from the doorway. Small storage in boxes. I walked to the window. A photo sat on the desk. Madison, Brian, Emma, Ethan. A family picture from last Christmas. I'd taken that photo, but I wasn't in it. Cropped out, erased. My chest tightened. 5 years I'd lived in this room. Gone like I'd never existed. Get out of my room. Brian appeared behind Madison. This was my room, Brian. I turned slowly. For 5 years. You turned it into your playground in 2 weeks. Well, it's mine now, so get... His hand shoved my shoulder. Not hard, but physical contact. I stumbled back 1 step, catching myself on the desk. Robert's voice came sharp from the stairs. Mr. Thompson, that's assault. Touch him again, and I'm calling the police. Brian's hand dropped, but his glare stayed fixed on me. I took one last look around, remembering every detail of my erasure. This was who they were. I walked past them, descending the stairs. In the living room, I paused. Photos of Emma and Ethan sat on the mantel. They didn't deserve this chaos, but they needed to learn that actions have consequences. Madison followed me down, tears streaming now. Where will we go, Dad? We have a week left and nowhere to go. You had 5 years to save money, to build something. You chose trucks and vacations instead. I was a good daughter. I gave you a place to live. You gave me a 10 by 12 room and expected me to be grateful while I cherish your entire existence. Brian moved to stand beside her. You're destroying your family, your grandkids. What kind of father does this? The kind who finally learned to say no. Madison's voice turned desperate, manipulative. When people hear about this, throw your family out, your reputation will be destroyed. Tell anyone you want. I don't care. I'll tell them the truth, that you publicly humiliated me, tried to send me to a nursing home, and treated me like a burden after I gave you everything. Let them judge. Robert touched my arm gently. We should go, James. I opened the door. Madison's voice came, broken. I hate you. I paused, didn't turn around. I know. I stepped out and closed the door behind me with finality. Robert walked beside me to his car. That was hard. Are you okay? No. I opened the passenger door, but it was necessary. I watched the house disappear in the side mirror. 3.5 weeks. 26 days until April 23rd. The next 2.5 weeks crawled by in an intense silence. I settled into a rhythm at the Riverside Inn. Morning walks, afternoon reading, and evening calls with Robert. Madison didn't contact me. No more harassment, no more manipulation, just quiet. But I knew what that silence meant. She was searching. I learned later, much later, the details of those weeks. She went to 5 real estate agencies. Everyone rejected her application. Her credit score was 580. Her income was barely adequate. Apartment after apartment. We require a credit score of 620 or higher. Your income needs to be 3 times the rent. We decided to go with another applicant. Each door closed, each option vanished. By April 15th, 1 week until the deadline, she had exhausted every possibility. That Tuesday afternoon, my phone rang. Madison's number. I stared at the screen for 6 rings before answering. Hello, Dad. Her voice sounded different, deflated, defeated. "Can we talk, please?" "I'm listening." A long pause. I heard background noise. Emma and Ethan arguing, Brian telling them to be quiet. What if we paid you rent to stay in the house? We could work out a payment plan, something reasonable. The mortgage is $2,700, plus utilities. That's $3,000 a month. We can't afford $3,000, almost a whisper. I know. So, this isn't really about money, is it? This is about respect, about dignity, about you treating me like a human being worthy of basic decency. I'm sorry. She was crying now. I'm so sorry, Dad. I was wrong. Brian was wrong. We were terrible to you, and I see that now. I do. Madison, you're 36 years old enough to own your choices. You chose cruelty at my birthday party. You chose to dismiss 5 years of sacrifice. Those were your decisions, not Brian's. But the kids. Emma asks about you every night. Ethan still doesn't understand why you left. What am I supposed to tell them? The knife twisted. Tell them the truth. That grandpa needed to be treated with respect. That adults have boundaries. That actions have consequences. Please, Dad, one more chance. Let us stay and pay rent. We'll do better. I promise. No. The word landed absolute, final. April 23rd. That deadline stands. You need to find somewhere else. There's nowhere else. Don't you understand? We've tried everything. Then you should have tried harder 5 years ago while I was paying for your life. I hung up, setting the phone down with trembling hands. Robert called 30 seconds later. She just tried you. Yes. Wanted to pay rent to stay. And you said, no. Good. Boundaries matter, James. Especially with family. Especially when they've been violated this badly. I learned later, much later, what happened next. April 20th, Sunday evening. Madison and Brian were in their bedroom. I found an apartment, Brian said. $1,800 a month, 2-bedroom. Not great, but available. Madison looked at the listing. We can't afford $1,800. After bills, we have $1,200 left. I know. They sat in silence, the mathematics of impossibility spreading between them. Dad was right, Madison finally said. About the truck, about the vacation. We should have been saving. Don't. Brian's voice came sharp. Don't defend him. He's throwing us out. Because we threw him out first. Because I handed him that brochure at his birthday party, in front of everyone like he was garbage. She was crying again. This is my fault, not yours. Mine. That was the moment she finally accepted responsibility. Too late, of course, but at least she understood. April 21st, Monday. Robert called with an update. Rental trucks are reserved. Confirmed for Wednesday pickup. They're preparing to move voluntarily. Relief mixed with a heavy finality. This was really happening. I spent Monday and Tuesday preparing. Calling utilities to restore service starting April 24th. Scheduling mortgage payment resumption for May 1st. Making lists of furniture I'd need to buy. Tuesday evening, Sarah Johnson called. James, it's Sarah. I heard they're moving out Wednesday. Yes. Are you okay? I don't know yet. Ask me Thursday. I'll be here. Coffee and company whenever you're ready. Thank you, Sarah. That means more than you know. You did the right thing. I hope you know that. I hope so, too. Tuesday night, April 22nd, the eve of eviction. I lay in the hotel bed, watching shadows from passing cars. Tomorrow, I will reclaim my home. Tomorrow, the 5-year chapter will close. My phone sat on the nightstand. Madison's contact information was still saved. Temptation pulled at me. Call her. Check if she's okay. Offer help. No, I had drawn the line. Crossing back now would teach nothing, fix nothing, change nothing. The calendar on my desk showed April 23rd circled and underlined. 2 p.m. final walkthrough was written beneath. I set my alarm for 7 a.m. and waited for morning. I woke up to my alarm at 7 a.m., though I'd barely slept. I checked out at 9 a.m. "Hope you enjoyed your stay, Mr. Miller," the clerk said. It served its purpose. My packed bag sat in my car easily. 6 weeks reduced to 3 bags. Too early to go to the house. I drove to the library, sat in a quiet corner, watching the clock crawl toward the afternoon. 10, 11, noon, 1 p.m. At 1:30 p.m., I drove toward my house. 1:50 p.m. I parked across the street, engine off, watching. A rental truck sat in the driveway, white, boxy, generic. Brian loaded boxes with mechanical efficiency. Madison carried smaller items, moving slowly and defeated. Then I saw them. Emma and Ethan were in the truck's cab, their faces pressed against the window, watching their world dismantled. My heart clenched. "Emma, my sweet Emma." Robert pulled up behind me. We waited until 2:10 p.m., giving them a few extra minutes. Finally, I stepped out of my car, Robert beside me. We walked across the street. Brian saw us first, his body stiffening. But there was no aggression this time, only weariness. Madison set down the box she was carrying, saw me, and started walking toward us. We met in the driveway. Her hand was extended, keys dangling. The house keys I'd given her 5 years ago. "Here." Her voice was barely above a whisper. I took them, cool metal against my palm, weighted with everything they represented. "I'm sorry, Dad." She looked directly at me, her eyes red but clear, for all of it. The party, the brochure, everything. I was cruel. I was wrong. And I'm sorry. I know. I know. "Can you," she swallowed hard, "can you ever forgive me?" I wanted to say yes. Wanted to make this easy for both of us. "I don't know. Not now. Maybe someday. But not now." She nodded, accepting the answer. "The kids. Can they see you sometimes when things settle?" I thought of Emma's face in the truck window. Maybe in time, when I'm ready, when they can understand what happened and why. "Thank you." She turned to go, then stopped. "The mortgage, the bills. How long can you?" "That's not your concern anymore, Madison." Understanding crossed her face, the final severing. She was truly on her own now. Brian called from the truck. "Maddie, we need to go." She looked at me one last time. "Goodbye, Dad." "Goodbye." I watched her climb into the truck. The engine started, a loud diesel rumble filling the quiet street. The truck pulled away slowly. Emma's small hand was pressed against the window, waving. My throat closed. I didn't wave back. The truck turned the corner and disappeared. Gone. Robert touched my shoulder. "You want company for the walkthrough?" "No, I need to do this alone." "Call if you need anything." He squeezed once. "You did the right thing, James. Remember that." He left, his car pulling away, leaving me standing alone in my driveway. I walked to the front door, put the key in the lock, and turned it. The door opened. My house, empty, echoing mine. The smell hit first, cleaner than during my last visit. They'd scrubbed before leaving, at least. The living room was bare where their furniture had been. My old chair remained, pushed against the wall. They hadn't wanted it. The kitchen was cleaner, too. I climbed the stairs. My former bedroom door stood open, empty now. Brian's gaming setup was gone. Just bare walls, beige carpet, the closet with those swaying hangers. I walked to the center of the room and sat on the floor. No furniture yet, just me and empty space. 5 years ago, I'd moved into this room to help my daughter. Today, I reclaimed it from her. Full circle, complete. Looking out the window, my view was restored. Spring trees were budding outside. Life continues regardless of human drama. And then the tears came. Not tears of joy, but grief. For the relationship lost. For the daughter I'd raised who becomes someone I barely recognized. For the grandsons I'd have to rebuild a connection with slowly, carefully, if ever. For the cost of justice. I let myself cry, alone, safe, finally able to release what I'd held together for 6 weeks. The next 3 days blurred together in a flurry of activity. Thursday, utilities restored, lights, water, internet flowing again. I began the deep cleaning, finding my boxes in the garage, the belongings they'd stored when converting my room. Unpacking was slow, deliberate. Friday, furniture shopping. Modest pieces within my pension budget. A bed, a couch, a kitchen table. Delivery was scheduled for Saturday morning. Saturday, the house began feeling like home again. Sarah visited that evening, bringing a casserole and company. "Tell me everything," she said, settling onto my new couch. "You were braver than I could have been," she said finally. There were moments I almost quit, almost called her and said, "Forget it, come back." But you didn't. You stood your ground. No, because giving would have taught Emma and Ethan that manipulation works. That disrespect has no consequences. Better they learn the hard lesson now. "You reclaimed more than a house," Sarah said quietly. "You reclaimed your dignity." Monday morning, April 28th, 7 a.m. I stood on my front porch, coffee mug warm in my hands, watching the sunrise paint the sky orange and gold. The neighborhood was waking around me, cars backing out of driveways. Normal life. My life now. The house behind me stood quiet, sparsely furnished, but mine completely legally, finally mine. "Eleanor, I thought, wherever you are, I did it." I kept my promise to take care of Madison, just not the way either of us expected. Sometimes taking care of someone means letting them face consequences. The coffee tasted better than it had in months. A simple pleasure earned through 6 weeks of battle. Madison was out there somewhere, figuring out how to rebuild without me supporting her, learning independence at 36. Late, but not too late. Emma and Ethan would be confused, hurt, asking questions. Someday, when they were older, maybe they'd understand. I'd reclaimed something more important than relationships. I'd reclaimed respect, my own respect for myself, the understanding that I deserved to be treated with dignity. Those 5 years of sacrifice didn't obligate me to accept cruelty. This house was mine again. But more importantly, I was mine again, and that made everything worth it. If you like this story, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share your impressions of this story in the comments. To listen to the next story, click on the box on the left. Thank you for watching.